is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Alright, we've got Scott Newton in the GSRC Williams, so let's do a lap around Zandvoort. Coming down to Tarzan, this is by far going to be your best place to pass. There's few heavy braking zones like this after a long straight on this course. From there, Gerlach will definitely be single file except for the Brave. It bleeds directly into Hugenholtz, which is sort of like a mirrored version of Tarzan with its steep banking. A good corner exit is going to be critical because you won't be lifting for quite a while. Back and forth through Hunzerug and Slotemacher, you'll come over the crest into Schievelock, where shockingly there's no braking involved. A lift and coast while riding around this sweeper is all you need before you're fully on the power again. Suddenly, Masters hits you in the face with its little kink in the track. You only get a short burst on the power before you're braking hard for Renault. You've got to switch sides quickly to set up for Vodafone, which is the more important of these two hairpins. Getting wheel spin or hesitating on the power can make you very vulnerable down into Hans Ernst. This is about the only other place where you commonly see overtakes, but unlike the first corner, this is a nasty little chicane. Open wheel cars trying to get through here side by side tends to not end well. Finally, there's Kumho, which is the final proper corner of the circuit and definitely requires a good launch. That's because Lyondike is a flat-out blast leading onto the pit straight where everyone is going to be hungry to make a pass. But hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Zandvoort.
Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments of the session. He is fourth fastest right now. He's just coming across the start-finish line, and he must be starting the lap. I made a mistake on that one because that didn't count. And we'll see if a number 15 can jump up onto the front row of the grid. I think he'll have two more chances to try and get it done. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments of the session. He is fourth fastest right now. He's just coming across the start-finish line, and he must be starting the lap. I made a mistake on that one because that didn't count. And we'll see if a number 15 can jump up onto the front row of the grid. I think he'll have two more chances to try and get it done. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments of the session. He is fourth fastest right now. He's just coming across the start-finish line, and he must be starting the lap. I made a mistake on that one because that didn't count. And we'll see if a number 15 can jump up onto the front row of the grid. I think he'll have two more chances to try and get it done. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments of the session. He is fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth fastest.
Yeah, for the
expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth. Expect to jump up a couple more positions here in the closing moments. Fourth.
maybe set up a pass, but if you're farther on back, a great place to try and gain time. As look at this here, he's gonna go for the perfect opportunity into Tarzan.
Down the inside goes Usher Bisha. Definitely taking the wider line around there, was able to use the momentum out of the corner to defend and hold on to the first position. We've got trouble here towards the back. I couldn't quite catch who that was from our helicopter cam.
That was Gene Burnett working at the back of the field, struggled in practice trying to learn the track, and now he is out the circuit with significant damage. It looks like the front end, but stick towards the front because things are getting more and more so entertaining, side by side once again.
Yeah, it's a replay, I think, of our
Pardon me, yes.
battle going through Tarzan there, just getting another view of that great battle going on for the lead. We should jump back up to live action where Bisha is leading, heading on into the chicane right now with Usher behind him. Here we go. This is live pictures you're seeing with Bisha leading Usher, McLeod, Andrews, and Ziege, your top five. And then, even though the top five, well, I was about to make a point, but I'm going to hold off on that because Usher's getting aggressive for the lead again.
And last time tried to push the man on the left side, and Vishar out to the exit, wide on the exit. Can't quite do so again. You can tell Usher's got the pace, but with how difficult it is to overtake even in the best passing zones, it's going to have to take the perfect run out of the corner exit to make sure you get the pass done.
Well, start to mention here, our top five at the start are all still in the top five, but the driving sixth, Marcus Grestel, he shot out of a rocket right at the start of this race, went from 10th to 6th, and he's actually a teammate of Bisha, so that team obviously has their starts down.
I think so too, as you look towards some of this battling shuffling on with Guishar, just trying to hug the racing line to try and not give a spot back to Moretta. You can see trying to fall off on the tire tracks. But if you're able to launch off on the corner exit, you can gain just what Grisha was just able to do. But so much time can be picked right back up to Hans Erst and heading towards the Kumho. The Kumho, rather.
Yeah, leader's coming around to complete lap 3 of his 47-lap race. For any of you who are having a couple of audio issues ahead of a pre-race, this is round 3 of a batteries not included championship here at Zandvoort. Very treacherous weather conditions, and right now, Chris Moretta is making a pass for 6th. There was almost contact there, though, between himself and Marcus Gresdal, and Marcus will hold on to that 6th position.
Try to push him off the racing line, something that we see so many times as he loses the back tires. He spins himself sideways but avoids contact. And that, when you have a hot racetrack and a track where you can light up the back tires so quickly getting into the gas, just cost him 2 spots in 1.
Oh, and we'll get a replay of that as he almost clips the grass again there. I know the iRacing Esports Network, our friends who broadcast this race for us, they also show some dirt racing, but this isn't it. This is road course racing, and he's been struggling to keep it on the grey stuff, but man, a nice save there.
Could have been an absolute disaster, a great save.
And the battle is on for third. We have a new driver in third. Neil Andrews has got by Clayton McLeod, and Clayton almost lost fourth place to Thomas Ziegler. So Andrews, he was the second fastest driver in qualifying, and was honestly a bit surprised to... Oh, and now we got the battle for the lead. Usher has taken it back from Bishar into turn one.
Yes, this time Usher got the perfect run, and early enough to be able to get out-braking Bishar and able to cut across the racing line to get the move done. Now, can Usher push away? That's going to be the question. There's still ways to go in the race, and with so many strategies coming into play for this race overall, it could be interesting if Bishar can keep on up in terms of the pace.
So, we saw this several times last season where Bishar would qualify third or fourth or fifth or second and just get lightning starts and lead into the first corner. Towards the start of the season, he was never able to hold on to it. He was never able to bring home the win. And towards the end of the season, he was getting the hand of putting the full race together. But like we say, as Bishar makes a mistake there. And his teammate, boys, simultaneous mistakes by the teammates here, because Gastal just had an off and dropped back to 11th. He had been running in 8th.
Yeah, and absolutely overran the corner going into Master's Block and going into the sand trap. That's how he lost even more so positions. So he is absolutely losing his tires already. 5 laps in. Already up to P8.
Yeah, with a limited, here we go. Great scrap freights going on here, and that is Henkel losing the position to Dave Peterson. All these drivers quite far behind the 7th place driver of Kempson, so they might have been getting impatient behind Henkel. There you see Prieto definitely getting impatient with Henkel. They almost interlocked wheels there, and Gresdal bringing up the caboose of that train.
It nearly tapped right into the side pod, in fact. And this is a heck of a start for Prieto. Remember, he was the last driver to come into the qualifying session, qualified last on the grid, and already able to get into the top 10. That's at this kind of racetrack, very difficult to do. But for Henkel, I think it's going to have an absolute challenge to keep on holding on, because you can tell with the way he's running, he's better on some of the corner exits, but when it comes to the straight line speed, especially with the high downforce, potentially setting for a lot of these drivers today, that's where Prieto's able to take advantage to close back up any time Henkel gets on him.
And there you see Usher setting a new fastest lap of a race. Well, we mentioned Prieto moving up through the field from 20th to 10th, and maybe almost thinking about getting 9th place from Stephen Henkel as they come back out onto the front straight here. He's got a nice slipstream. He's pulling down to the inside as they head into Tarzan, late on the brakes, and Prieto is up into 9th place. But one driver who's been going the opposite direction, our good friend from the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship, Nora Lumpy, had a solid qualifying performance in 7th, but he's already all the way back in 13th.
Yeah, I was about to get to that, because remember with the bad start of the race for Thomas Ziegler that I mentioned a little bit there, the car who got into the back of him was Nora Lumpy. If you look at the right front wing, it is completely damaged, and on a track where you have so many corners, tight corners to get around, that can lose you so much speed in the right-handed corner sections, as it looks like trouble going on with Patterson.
Yeah, he had been running in 16th, and now he's going to drop all the way back to 19th, and that looked like one of the drivers had to take to the grass to get by him. So what happened to Patterson here? He wasn't racing anyone, must have just lost it on his own. As we mentioned, the wind has been going different directions, different speeds, the track is hot and slick, and looked like just a bit of trouble getting the power down there.
Yep, just that exact case there. Got the power down too quick, and it just hooked to the left, as you've seen, right towards the fence. Avoided significant damage as we look at Bishar, already back under attack as Andrews tries to recover from not the greatest qualifying session. I think Andrews, though, might have the pace to get the job done next time right down the front stretch the way he's driving this car.
Yeah, and I would honestly love to see what happens if Andrews does get by Bishar, because Usher, who's currently leading this race, and Andrews, who's in third, are both fairly new names to this series. And it would be great to see how the race would unfold if those two got to fight it out for the lead and for the win today. But right now, Bishar trying to keep his name in the mix. However, he's falling back of Mark Usher, who has been going purple on lap times. And as they come back out onto the front straight, I do have to wonder if this number 8 car is going to be able to hold on to that second position. Andrews is going to start getting a strong tow here.
I don't know if it's close enough quite yet. Andrews just getting underneath, but you've seen there, if you outbrake your opponent, you're in the best spot. But in this case, Bishar still outbrakes him and is able to carry that momentum on the high line.
Yeah, the problem is they lost another 3 tenths to Mark Usher that time by. And again, I'm curious to see what kind of pace Andrews would have for Usher if he... Oh, boy, there was contact on the straight there.
You don't want to make contact that close right now. But you mentioned it there, the more these guys battle, the more they lose time, slipstreaming and side drafting, holding each other up. It's going to come down to, do you eventually let Andrews go and fall behind have Bishar fall on behind? Or do you keep defending this position, hoping to get the most points possible? You got to think the full picture here in terms of race strategy and track management.
And remember, it's still early on in the race, only lap 9 of 47, and 1 stopper for these guys. That's why the pit window isn't open yet. That's why we haven't seen Nora Lumpy come in to fix that front wing. Needs to break up a little bit. A bit of a scrap going on for 15th place here between Sylvia Hurt and Stefan Minke. Sorry,
Andrew Bonnerill,
yeah.
But able to get the quick pass you've seen there. It looks like Hurt is way off the pace because he's got front wing damage as well in the right front. So this is a perfect example of, if you get front wing damage, it can cost you so much time for your first stint until you can come in for a pit stop and get a fresh wing put onto your car.
Yes, a couple of drivers sporting front wing damage out there. You mentioned Ziga got that bad start that we believe contributed to the damage that we've seen on Nora Lumpy's car. Obviously, if there's any kind of damage to Ziga's number 5 machine, it hasn't been upsetting him because he's still out there running in 5th place all on his own.
The thing is, with Ziegler, he got hit on the gearbox rather than the rear wing, where it could have added even more significant damage and completely knocked it off potentially. With the case that with Nora Lumpy, you get damage regardless where you hit in terms of the car. So you gotta make sure you have enough spatial awareness with so many different braking lines across the track, with so many different types of drivers here, because if you aren't careful at this kind of a tight close quarters track, you could potentially destroy your entire race in the early portion of today.
Okay, it's lap number 10, and we just saw Usher go purple for, about the 5th time this race or something. How long can he keep this up? I mean, he is absolutely flying out there today. I almost wonder if he has a light fuel load to get this early lead, and he might be forced to pit a bit earlier and have a longer stop on these competitors, or if he's just out driving them.
I think it's a case of maybe both, because honestly, we've seen this last week when it came to the race in Germany with Benefield, where he had full fuel and just outdrove everybody in the race and still was able to do the overcut and come out with an extra 20 seconds gained from the pit stop with lighter fuel from being able to come in much later. So it's kind of that case where we're going to have to wait and see. If Usher is running on a normal set of fuel, it could be absolutely difficult to try and reach him today. If he's on light fuel, that might be the chance for someone like Bishar, who also was the longest driver how it undercut last race, to take advantage.
So Usher currently leading a field of 17 cars, all still on the lead lap for now, but not much longer. Short lap around here, so lap traffic will play a role. 3 drivers currently out of a race. Jay Fields just retired. David Lee Patterson, we saw him have trouble early on, as well as Jean Brunet ran into big trouble early on. This battle for second still in the works. Neil Andrews, I almost wonder if he's just complacent to run behind Floris Pichard here for now, Justin. The problem is that they've dropped 4 seconds back of Usher, so if he is able to get by him eventually, he might not be able to challenge for the win.
I think it's about being patient for 1 and being 2, maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel getting with the slipstream to try and stretch an extra lap or 2 maybe out of the tank in the long run. But it's about just a way to see. It's now starting to fall off on the pace a little bit. In practice, this was where he started to fall off when he did some long runs. Had a bit of a bobble, in fact, as you just seen there. So I think he's starting to struggle with the tire wear as well in the car.
And behind this battle, running all on his own in fourth, is our points leader Clayton McLeod. I know we had some audio issues before the start of this race. One thing we were discussing is what kind of race are we going to see from our championship leader Clayton McLeod today. We've seen races in the past where he has been on it and he's been the guy to beat, but we've also seen some races in the past where he struggled to keep it out there on the racetrack, keep it out of the walls. So far, having a decent performance going, running in 4th place, might not be enough to hold on to his championship lead, but it's definitely going to do wonders for him in the long run if he plans on winning this championship based on consistency.
Yeah, you have to remember when it comes to championships, you can win as many races as you want, but say if you DNF even a couple times, you can lose so many points in the overall season picture where you can lose a championship. So you gotta make sure you're the most consistent. McLeod's done that. He lost some points in Germany too. As the position now heating up for P number 7. Guess who's involved? It's Prito.
Yeah, Prito, but also shout out to Peterson. Don't you always hate it when you're a guy like Peterson, you think, oh man, I'm the biggest mover of a race. I started 14th, I'm currently running 7th. The guy behind you is going, I've gone from 20th to 8th. So Prito really on the move. Peterson has been going the right direction as well, but he might have to yield a position here. And honestly, I kind of hope he does, because my most famous and also infamous memory of Peterson so far in the batteries, not included championship, he had a nice podium run going last year at Montreal, I believe it was, and had a bit of pressure from a faster car behind and succumbed to it. He made a mistake, put it in the wall, and hopefully he doesn't do the same today, because currently he has a good run going out there, running 7th on lap 14 of 47.
And he's got a decent pace overall. Again, that you hit on a bit, he's right now one of the faster cars on the track, in top 8 fastest lap times last time by, so as long as he keeps it going, he can do so, because
Andrews is in trouble. Andrews has had a spin out of last turn. His car's going down the front straight now. He's not coming in the pits. I don't think he has damage, but he has dropped from 3rd to 5th.
Absolute bad mistake there. That time, hitting the curb. You're going to see this at the start here. Falling on behind Vishar, gaining up time. Overran the curves on the inside that pushed him wide into the sand on the outside, and ends up hooking his car straight to the right. As you said, avoided damage, but did burn up some of that tire a little bit, and dropped all the way back to the 5th spot. A huge mistake for one of the fastest cars overall. 15 seconds back of the race lead now because of that.
Well, you said it there, Justin. He didn't damage the car, but he damaged those 4 things that attach the car to the road, and sometimes those can be just as important.
Yes, and you're seeing he's struggling with even more so. We were starting to see that where he was losing time to Vishar for a couple of laps. Now he's struggling even more so, bobbling every single low gear corner exit right now, it appears. It's going to be a hassle to try and make sure he doesn't spin that thing into the Armco barriers here with the way that car looks to be handling still early on in this race, mind you.
We talk about championships and consistency. Obviously, that mistake from Andrews has now put Clayton McLeod back up into a podium position. It's also moved Ziga up into 4th place.
Yes, and now that's where the mistakes come in, but still ways to go as we look there at McLeod. Still on his own some right now, but the way he is pace time, he's right now the second fastest car on the track, about the same pace as Vishar. So if Vishar starts making mistakes and McLeod keeps up a consistent pace towards the middle portion of the run, I think he can do something. The main thing is, though, because of that incident with Andrews, it looks like some grass is on the racing line. In fact, for that portion of the racetrack now.
Grass on the racing line, track temperature of 110 degrees, and another little scrap going on further back in the field here. This is Peterson and Prieto still running 7th and 8th. Peterson hasn't been listening to me, and rightfully so, because he's doing a good job right now at holding on to 7th place.
Yeah, that's in part because Prito's constantly been making mistakes. He starts closing in, then it's just for how he's been handling on some of these corner exits. He's been losing 2/10 here, 2/10 there. Gains back up again, once again with the late braking that you can go into Hans Urs. But the way this car he's been doing, trying to get the spot, it looks like he's just overdriving in sections such as there, where he cuts across the curves or ends up taking the corner exit too wide, trying to push and try and gain time back that he lost in qualifying.
And as the cars go by the front straight, avoiding pit road, obviously we are now approaching the time of a race where pit window might start to open for drivers who started this race with a light tank of fuel. Haven't had any scheduled takers yet. As we mentioned, 3 cars out of a race, Fields, Patterson and Burnett. And our leader, Usher, has already started putting cars a lap down. Button, Hurt and Kempson are all running the lap down right now, and many drivers soon to join them. What about these two scrapping for 12th place on track?
And it looks like Mankey just getting by Morgan. In fact, as you see them trying to scrap around and some of these passes coming together. But you bring up a decent point in terms of the strategy. The last race in Germany, they ended up going, the undercut was the more powerful of the two decisions. Now, pardon me, the overcut, I should say, the undercut is something that we have that was not seen that to be effective whatsoever in Germany because of traffic and the heavier fuel and the time you lose on that. Guys like Porter-Ill now falling on as Morgan just pulled into the DNF, but looking at that battle and up there with Andrews, he's nearly been chopping the back wing right off of Ziegler once again.
Yeah, I thought Morgan was coming in for a scheduled stop, but he took it to the garage. That takes us down to 16 cars. Botterill is in for a stop, but he's having a very lengthy one as well, so not good news for some of our drivers who have been running around towards the tail end of the field.
Yeah, with Botterill looking at this, I think part of the reason it looks like a couple different incidents. One we've seen, I think, a little before early on, has damage on both wings. And just to cap it off, to send him into the pits now to get fresh tires and repairs done, it looks like, was sending it off into the sand trap, going in out of Kumo and heading towards the final corner of the track. So he's had an absolutely rough day.
4th place is heating up, and it could be about to change because they're coming back out onto the front straight with Ziegler being pressured from behind by Andrews. Andrews trying to recover from his mistake, coming out of that turn, a couple of laps to go. Now he's right up in the gearbox of Ziegler. He's down the inside, he's back in 4th position.
And another perfectly executed move to make the pass. Exactly how you need to get it done is talked about.
And for 7th. So the Peterson-Prieto battle is heating up heading into the first corner, and boy, Peterson was swerving left and right. It was looking very dramatic down the front straight. He does not want to let Prieto by. Almost contact there.
Yeah, just avoiding the contact. In fact, yes, and avoiding front wing damage. It looks like the way he was driving, Peterson was trying to break the toe down the straightaway, knowing that if he let Prieto get the toe, then Prieto would leave him in the dust in terms of the pass and pull away from him. He's, I think, just going to try and hold him up. It's Prieto with an aggressive move. Makes the pass work. My goodness, great move.
Wow, I wonder if Peterson, the Angels standing on Peterson's shoulder was saying, hey, if you keep this up, it's going to end in disaster, because he was racing very defensively through the first half of a lap, but once Prieto sent it down the inside there, he kind of just yielded it to him.
I think potentially too. Nora Laffey just coming out of the pits, as you see there too as well, with everything going on. So the strategy's starting to come into play for even more so drivers now. As you look at the front stretch and look at Nora Laffey, currently has lost a lot of time in terms of the race. what has to hope that this undercut works. A 10-second pit stop with the front wing also having to be potentially fixed up and replaced on that car.
Yeah, and the really bad news for Nora Lampe there, of course, is he might have not planned that short pit stop. It's obviously been a car that's been forced to him because of that front wing damage. He might have had to do that whole first stint with a heavy fuel load as well. Maybe he was thinking of going long initially, but then his strategy got thrown off with that damage, and you can see even on his cold tyres he was dancing a bit with the rear end there, able to hold on to it, but it's going to cost him time and burn up his rear tyres a bit.
It definitely will, and the undercut, as mentioned, did not work at Germany. Pitting halfway did not even work for some drivers. So this is a huge risk still, but he had to do it. He was losing so many spots and fell all the way back to 12th because of that damage. As you look at the lap traffic, now being dealt with by the leader.
Well, Usher shouldn't feel any kind of pressure to get through this lap traffic, to be honest. He's already built a 10-second lead up over Floris Bichar, and we're not even halfway.
Yeah, this is a blistering pace now, though. He's constantly been setting the fastest lap still. The only driver, in fact, still in the 1 minute 14 second lap category and getting faster as he burns up the fuel. If he keeps it clean, he could potentially be untouchable today, especially with clean air for his machine right now. Just one more lap car to pass and then open road for potentially the next 3-4 laps.
Yeah, not even high 1 minute 14s. I mean, you say he's the only driver still in the 1 minute 14s. Last lap it was a 1 minute 14.2. This lap it's 1 minute 14.6, and I have a feeling he had to deal with a bit of lap traffic there as well, and he will this time with Meinke. And Stefan Meinke is the next car to go a lap down. He's running in 11th place. It's definitely not a bad performance out of 20 cars. And remember, we anticipated a lot of lap traffic from this race, not from a difference in skill or anything, but the fact that, this is just a rather short track for these F1 cars.
Yeah, 2.67 miles in terms of distance, more than 4 kilometers overall, and one of the fastest lap times we'll see the entire season. A minute 12 to a minute 17 was the qualifying differences in terms of times. It's just how this track is built, really, and how the best drivers, the ones that are able to gain the most time in the technical corners. And that has been what Mark Usher has done, picking up 10th after 10th in time in the tight corners and not having to be held up when he is breaking lap traffic, like here with Stefan Meinke, as you mentioned, nearly touching the whack wing just now. Just avoiding damage once again on the number 93 machine.
No, even if damage held him up a second a lap, I think he'd still be safe at the rate he's going right now, as he pulls across the start-finish line to complete lap 22 of 47 in this race. Mark Usher has been the dominant driver of the day. Floris Bichar led at the start of the race after another one of his lightning starts, but he's been gradually fading his way back. He's currently running second place. Clayton McLeod has a good third place run going on right now, but for how much longer will that last? Because Neil Andrews, who was running in the podium positions early on, but made a mistake, he is running McLeod back down, and I have a feeling he will catch him within the next couple of laps here.
With the clean air, ran the fastest lap that time by with a 1:14.1, in fact, just off the fastest lap pace from Mark Usher. So he's putting the lap pedal down, looking on board with him. You can tell he's got the confidence he needs. He just has to make sure he doesn't make the mistake, because the way he's doing the driving right now, getting much later into the brakes than McLeod and able to gain back up the time and still carry the speed that he's risking losing on some of these corner exits. A little wobble there, but the way he's driving, he's in good shape.
I've got to be honest, I'm surprised we're still seeing such fast times this late on into a run at a track that I would say is quite abusive on tyres, especially with the temperature conditions the way they are. It just shows you, of course, these cars also handle a heck of a lot better when they're on the lighter fuel load. And right now, Andrew's car is handling a heck of a lot better when he sees a carrot on a stick to chase in front of him. But now he's going to start getting in that aero wake of the number 1 machine. Interesting, Clayton McLeod is still running the number 1 in that car, despite the fact it wasn't him that won the championship last season, but we'll let that slide. He does a lot for this league. we appreciate everything Clayton McLeod does. We also appreciate everything the guys at the iRacing Esports Network do for us, putting this show on for us every single week. Be sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel if you haven't already. There's plenty of great racing, not just from us guys here at GSRC, but RaceSpot. All those companies have great broadcasts on here, and we're getting set for some action now because the pit window is open as we hit halfway.
Henkel the first to hit for the halfway cycle now, as you continue to see him. Usually with this, you can save a couple seconds in terms of fuel when it comes to the pit stop. This is where some of the drivers want to go with a very long stop here. Something going on with Henkel. Way too long on the stop, in fact. This should have been done 10 seconds ago.
So, here, back on the straight, McLeod has been able to hold on to third place ahead of Andrews. No pressure from ahead of them or from behind them, so these two can afford to have their own little race for now.
Yeah, so it's just gotta be careful right now. I think Andrews will just follow the tire tracks as long as he can, and once he gets the run he needs to get the job done. Again, though, keeps on. Once you get into the slipstream of the car in front of you, it gets so much more difficult to try and carry the speed. It makes you a bit more looser on the corner exits when trying to follow into the same tire tracks.
Dave Peterson is in. He'd been running 8th place after losing that position to Victor Prieto a few laps ago. And hopefully, there we go. We finally see our first scheduled stop of a race passed without incident.
I think Henkel's stop was scheduled, but the problem was he overfilled the car. But you can see with Butterfield, the reason he's in the pits once again is he just had disaster on his lap number 23 again down the straight, heading towards Flutemaker. That was on his most recent lap as more pit stops continue on your screen.
Yeah, and you also saw on your screen there McLeod and Andrews running even closer in that battle for third, and we catch up with it here as they work their way through the infield portion of the racetrack. This is really the only time besides the front straight you really get to open these machines up, and even then you're not exactly looking to pass because you've got to twist left and right and left and right, and now you're hitting some braking zones again with grass being thrown all over the racetrack, and contact there! Andrews way too deep into the turn and got into the back of McLeod. They both get away with it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one, if not both of them, pick this lap if they think they have damage.
It looks like they both might have just avoided damage. That was very too close for comfort, and something I talked about. Why don't we take a look at what just happened there? Because Andrews is really messing up on the handling because of that incident we just seen there. Looking once again, this is going into turn number 9. Hard brake, gets him towards the back wing, and ends up sending him sideways in McLeod. Both of them keep on going as McLeod stays on the track. This time, Andrews does come in, as that car was really dancing around after the contact.
Yeah, so Andrews comes in, obviously, to try and get his front wing repaired, and the problem with that is Thomas Ziegler, who had closed in on him because of the incident. Well, Ziegler's going to be able to pull off his pit stop here without having to worry about changing the front wing. Is Ziegler going to have a quicker pit stop and jump Andrews in the pits? No, he's not. Andrews pulls out ahead.
Both of them in the 9-second bracket for pit stops now, being able to take the lesser fuel. So Andrews, I think, had to do it there because he was losing too much time with how the car was handling differently after the contact. It didn't look like significant wing damage, but the way it was handling on the left-hand turns, there was definitely something he had to have felt to go right in, and for McLeod not to go in, I think McLeod got lucky with the contact that might have hit him just on the gearbox instead.
Well, I know this isn't legit because Andrews and Ziegler have pit and Prieto hasn't, but Prieto is currently running in 4th now after starting dead last on the grid. And in comes our race leader, Mark Usher. So for the second time this race, he won't be the race leader anymore. but again, he should be once all cycles through.
Yes, he comes right on out, currently in third. So Bishar and McLeod are currently attempting the overcut right now for the race, right now at the moment, but still have to deal with traffic on fresher tires coming from behind them. I think if you're Bishar, you're hoping you got the right pace, because he's been in the 1 minute, just getting into the 1 minute 14 bracket with his fastest laps in the past few moments. He's got to hope he keeps up a similar pace, or else he might not be able to make this work. Still 12 seconds only back is Mark Usher, mind you.
Yeah, Usher's kind of in a race of his own right now. Honestly, the top few cars have got were spread out enough before the pit stop started. I have a feeling they can all afford to play their own little strategy games. It's around 5th, 6th, 4th places where it's going to really get interesting, especially considering the fact that Andrews is having to have a bit of a comeback drive.
And right now it looks like McLeod has ended off his attempt at the overcut. He's into the pits here, coming towards now number 30 overall, pardon me.
Hopefully this should pass without drama for Clayton. He's up the tracks, back on the ground, and away from his pit box. Nice stop.
And again, no wing change there on the rear end, at least there. Remember, front wing changes take 2 seconds if you have to get it replaced. That time, the fastest stop so far, a 7.8 from McLeod.
Just want to give a bit of a shout out here to our race leader Flovis Bishar, because let's not forget the great launch he got off a start line, which he's kind of became famous for in this series. He not only did that, over the rest of his competition and stormed off into turn 1 ahead of everyone else, he did it with a heavy fuel load, because only just now he's coming in and most of his competitors have already stopped.
Yeah, so the third longest at this rate it's going to be able to stretch it out. So now Brito's the one to watch for the overcut strategy. The thing is, though, where is he going to cycle out? Because you got Andrews now in open space on the racetrack. You got McLeod in open space on the racetrack as the pit stop cycle. Things can still shuffle out very aggressively these next few moments.
Yes, so Bishar comes out in second. Prieto is in third place right now, but as we keep mentioning, still has a stop to make. So, Usher leads. Bishar second, Prieto third, but we'll see how that plays out. The interesting thing to watch once again is going to be McLeod, Andrews, and Ziegler, because we've seen Andrews run down McLeod last time. Obviously, that's what ended in that contact. And Ziegler is just sitting about 5 seconds back of him, ready to pick up the pieces if they come to blows again.
And the pace between them, you see the splits right now, how they're separated out. The thing is, Andrews is still quicker in the open space right now by a full 1.5 seconds right now to where Ziegler is right now in terms of how he's running. The question is, can he not will he mitigate the mistake he had last time and be able to make the pass, because he's gonna have to take it patient this time. You got lucky the last time, for sure, Andrews. But I think Andrews, for him, the luck will not strike a second straight time. He needs to take it clean and try and get something down the front stretch without getting held up too long for him to have a shot to get on the spot.
Talk about getting held up too long. Victor Prieto is staying out for another lap, but I don't know how much I like that decision, because he's got a bit of lap traffic ahead of him that he's now going to have to fight in the form of Stephen Henkel, even though Henkel's running in 10th place, is a lap down, and Andrew Botero is not too far ahead of him. Now, Victor Prieto, I don't think he'll be racing anybody too hard when he comes out of the pits. But as you mentioned, he's definitely, I mean, if nothing else, he's going to have fresher tyres than the rest of his competition at the end of the race. So it will be interesting seeing where that number 151 car finishes today's race. And look at how much time he's losing to Henkel. Oh, wow, I never seen that. Gresdal.
Right in the middle of the racing line there, too. That could have been near disaster as Greshel just lost it on the entry. And you see him just getting going there, but that was near disaster. V-Shar having to dodge as well as Vonderfield, as well as everybody else you've seen. This is how he lost it there. This is on the into, I think, yes, in fact, turn number 10 on the track. He's taken the line, but the problem is loses the back end. And then you have V-Shar having to take aggressive action. Looking on board with some of these cars in just a few moments. Just no time for some of these drivers to have to get around. Near disaster. They're just great awareness, I think, for all of them to not plow straight into the side pod.
Yeah, Gresdal had just made his scheduled pit stop, so he was on cold tyres, and unfortunately, even though he didn't hit anything, he just came back into the pit, so I wonder if that's him calling it a day, or if it's him saying, hey, I want a different set of tyres on my car now, I've flat spotted these. iRacing doesn't have flat spots, but it certainly does increase the temperature when you do something like that to your car and hurts the tyre wear.
Yeah, it can be with these kind of tires, I think, too. It can be a difference like 5% of the tire being burned out just from spinning this car sideways for about a second. So don't blame him for wanting the fresher tires to try and salvage the race.
Stephen Monkey has just retired from the race. The list of retirees is starting to grow. Yeah, we got a good battle for ninth going on. Nora Lumpy having a bit of a comeback race. Now he's got a new front wing on his machine.
And you see the difference now that he's got the front wing. First time of the entire race, really. He's gotten fresher tires in doing so. And both him and Hankel missed the braking zone just about. So that was really close. There, oh my goodness! Way too aggressive as Hankel went into the brakes, and now both of them are off the racetrack. My goodness.
And thankfully, they both slid off a racetrack because there was a pack of cars behind them, including our battle for fourth between Clayton McLeod and Andrews. We were about to see a whale of a battle if those two had closed in. But boy, things just, they were heating up, and then it just went south there.
There's no way he expected that there. Hanko, I think, got out of the gas trying to make sure he got around the corner with the traction. Norlapi has no idea that he's blowing up, just plows right into the back of him, because usually you can keep that still near full throttle. Just absolutely plowed through him, and now him and Hanko completely demolished on the track. Hanko taking the tow, Norlapi limping around to try and gain the spot on him.
Yeah, you see Hanko in the pits, and coming into the pits now is Prieto. Prieto into the pits from third, so that means this battle between McLeod and Andrews, which was for fourth, is now for third place, with McLeod holding on to the last podium spot for now. We've seen Andrews run into a couple problems early on this race, however, you don't have to worry about incident limit during this race. There is no incident limit, so you can run off as many times as you want, but honestly, you don't want to run off in these cars.
Yeah, it kind of gets... These slick tires are not made, you know, to race in the mud and grass and dirt. But even then, it takes at least a half a lap to get the grass off your tires and get the traction back up on those said tires. It makes it much more looser to try and handle around some of these corners if you do get some grass on even one of the two tires. Front tires, rather.
Clayton McLeod still running out there in third. Mark Usher still running out there in first. He just put lap 34 in the books. 13 laps left to go here at round 3 at Zandvoort. Looks like we're about to get our third different winner at our first 3 races of the season. See if we... And next week, join us again as we see a nice battle between Prieto, who just came out the pits on those fresh tyres, taking the position away. Trying to.
That was a near nice switchback move, but he's got those... You're seeing some of the pace. Moretto had decent pace in the first run, but just that difference in terms of, you know, take less fuel, get fresher tires, is coming in, my goodness. As Prieto, it's going to be difficult to try and get the pass done now because of that aggressive block. But it's going to have to work here as he's off on the grass. Overcooked the entry.
Yeah, Prieto is so desperate to try and get by Chris Moretta here because he knows he should have the fastest car on the track right now with, you know, as light as a fuel load as any of his competitors about fresher tyres, and I'm sure he would love to get by Moretta to be able to try and run down Thomas Ziegler for 5th place. Unfortunately now his tyres are a little bit butchered. They've picked up all that gravel in turn 1, and Chris Moretta is showing Prieto that he's not just going to lay down for him.
Yeah, he really blocked aggressively there, and speaking of blocking aggressively, I can see the same thing with McLeod here too. Watch him if Andrews gets enough of a slipstream to dive right to the inside line and block the momentum of Andrews. It could happen in the next couple laps the way Andrews is getting back towards the back of McLeod down that front straightaway.
Running out of laps and opportunities to try and make something happen. I know we have 11 laps left to go, but there's really only 1 or 2 passing opportunities per lap, and they click off in a hurry. But Andrews trying to make his own passing opportunity and spins McLeod out into the gravel. Don't know how much damage McLeod has. Can he get going again without losing too many positions? He's waiting for gap in traffic, and he's going to be waiting for a while, unfortunately. So, Andrews, for the second time this race, gets into the back of McLeod.
And there's the pressure coming in there. In that situation, way too tight. You see there on Andrews, he got to the right side to get out below McLeod, tire to tire. But McLeod, I think, expected him to give the space, and that's not what he did there. He comes across the racing line, not expecting him to still push for the move, sends him off into the gravel trap. Still avoided damage, but lost a lot of time as the black flag waves for Neil Andrews.
Yep. The battle is on. Prieto has gotten by Moretta, but yeah, to build on that point, Clayton McLeod, of course, the league admin. I don't know if he discussed with other admins about it, but Neil Andrews has been black flagged for the incident. He's in the pits right now doing a quick stop-go. And it'll be interesting seeing Andrews is going to come out right in the thick of this battle. Actually, he's ahead of it. So Andrews comes out. He's in 4th place. Prieto in 5th. Trying to get 4th from Andrews down the inside here.
And this is a very tight situation here. And Andrews still having to deal with his situation too. So this is going to absolutely scramble things up for Moretto. The way Andrews is going to cut in front of him, in fact, and try and keep up with Prieto. This is way too tight for comfort, I think, as you see there, Andrews wanting to gain time up on some of these guys and nearly cutting off Moretta.
All this, by the way, of course, has allowed Thomas Ziegler to move into 3rd place, but right now the battle is for 4th. Prieto has it after starting 20th. Andrews is back in 5th. He could have been fighting for a podium a couple of times today. He was fighting for a podium. Chris Moretta currently running in 6th place. He's beginning to fade from these two, so maybe it's about to be deducted down to a 2-driver scrap for 4th place. Clayton McLeod, by the way, did get going again, but all the way back down in 7th.
And that's going to take a lot. He's going to need to hope for a mistake from Moretta to even gain 1 more spot at this point. But still, Andrews staying on the racetrack. Prieto continuing now to try and pull back away now in the fresher tires. And keep away Andrews and try and pull away at the same time for Moretta using both of their slipstreams.
For now, no change in position. Prieto, I mean, we mentioned at the top of the show, he wasn't here in practice. He only just showed up in qualifying and was a couple of seconds off of everyone else. But he's shown he quickly came to grips with this car during race conditions. He's worked his way from 20th up to 4th, and it hasn't been by fluke. I mean, he really has had a front-running pace today. Would have been interesting seeing where he'd been running had he been here for practice, had he gotten a good qualifying time and started up front.
Yeah, majority of his race pace has been in the 1:15s, yes, but that's still good enough the way this race has gone for Prieto to get a top 5 in comparison to how the pace has been with Mark Usher that you've seen there. So, he's put on a decent enough pace. He's going to need some luck to get a podium at this point, the way Ziegler's now just put away from this battle, but anything can happen in this race under 10 laps to go.
And even though it looks like Usher's going to win this race with a 15-second lead and only 9 laps left to go, Bishar coming into this race 3rd in the points. We talked about how critical it is to get your championship campaign off to a strong start. Pretty sure with Clayton McLeod's troubles, if Bichard doesn't take a points lead following this race heading into next week's event at Suzuka, he'll be very close to McLeod and definitely a driver we'll want to keep our eyes on throughout the season.
And this would be back-to-back second-step podium finishes for him as well, with the first one from the undercut, now this one, and potentially here in the Netherlands. So this would be a huge momentum builder to carry into the future weeks, especially with the next round going to Japan, as you mentioned, at Suzuka in the new year.
Well, because of the short nature of this track, we have a battle going on, even though it's 2 laps down. It's for a pretty prestigious position, and that's 10th place. Marcus Dresdel and Stephen Kempson are racing for 10th and 11th. Again, they're 2 laps down, but still a top 10 finish, definitely something you want to take home with you. And right now, the driver of that number 171 car has it. And sorry, something's happened to Nora Lumpy. He has just retired from the race, but go ahead, Justin, because it's down the fence heating up.
Nora Lumpy, I think, just pulled out of the race after the contact we talked about a few laps ago. Remember, that was going through her Gerlach block. As a huge mistake for Gershall is going to try to set up something for Kempson, but just the way Gershall was dancing around held up Kempson so much that it cost him so much time to try and make the move, but also helps him here for the straightaway. They're going to be side by side.
Dresdel going very close. They almost rubbed wheels going down the straight, even into the braking zone. Dresdel, and he bit off. He was trying way too hard to defend the position there and ends up losing that.
Huge mistake.
More
and another
Clayton McLeod.
Yes, a huge mistake. Looking at this now, just ended up losing the car and going into the grass on the exit, coming out of, yes indeed, the Hagenholtz. Hagenholtz walked, coming out and hitting the left front on the car into the article barrier. You're going to see it right here. Passing by the front stretch section, the billboards, and right about here, goes too wide and hits the grass and hooks him to the left side, demolishes the front end, as his day is done and could very well lose him the points lead now on the circuit.
Yeah, but more trouble. Chris Moretta, who would have inherited, and wow, there's really something going on out here. Moretta has lost the connection. Neil Andrews has been given a 60-second time penalty by McLeod, following McLeod pulling out of a race. And I don't know if Andrews is he able to serve it by doing a slowdown on track? Because Botterill almost just ran into the back of him down the straight. Andrews going very slow out on track right now.
He did get a black flag from the initial contact. McLeod has made it clear prior to the season, prefers to have clean racing for the entire way around. That might have been the point for the initial one. Seeing that Andrews wasn't serving it, electing to give a second one to try and have him serve it. Or pardon me, might have did serve it. Pardon me, must have missed that myself there, but this is getting absolutely confusing here, pardon me here.
Well, I'm pretty sure Andrews is about to have to come into the pits, and what's not confusing is that we have 4 cars now left on the lead lap, and those 4 have remained unchanged for the last few laps. It's Usher, Bichard, Ziga, and Prieto, and as Andrews comes in, things from 5th on back are really about to get mixed up. So Andrews has retired from the race. This is going to move Dave Peterson up into 5th position.
I have no words. Now. There's now only 4 drivers on the lead lap because of all this, and Peterson's going to gain a heck of a lot of points now at this point. I have no words. That's all I can really say. I'm sorry.
Well, all of this would have been great news for Chris Moretta. He would have been the driver in 5th place after all that stuff going on between Clayton and Neil went down. Unfortunately, he lost the connection. So that is what has enabled drivers such as Dave Peterson, Dirk Puten, Stephen Kempson, Silvio Hurt, drivers who have been running around 10th all day, are going to come home with 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. We're going to see some big wins in the points.
And even guys like Kempson, who have been very quiet today and had some mistakes going throughout the day, he's going to end up being the benefactor to get a 7th place finish out of all this and just lose 1 total spot since the starting grid. Absolute crazy sequence of events as Kempson might have just thrown it away. I think the commentator's curse is out in full force at this point, the way this race has been going in the final few laps, my goodness.
Well, it's okay if you spin from 7th. There's so much attrition in the race right now, he probably won't lose anything.
I'm pretty sure he did lose 1 spot, though, because Silvio Hertz is the next driver for position, and if I am correct, I believe he was getting close to try and get the pass done. I don't think he did get it. There was an orange car that did pass him, though.
Okay, Dirk Boutin, another driver who's going to benefit from this. Look at that, up 6 positions from where he started. And all these drivers, you see, that's not a technical glitch. He is 2 laps down in 6th place.
Yeah, and this is another one of those good runs. Started 16, gonna be now plus 10 on the race today. And we haven't discussed him, I think, other than up from the starting grid at this point, so he's just been quietly setting his own pace, keeping the car clean, which is the main thing here at this kind of a racetrack, and able to do so to avoid all the craziness and carnage that has unfolded here in the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, I think the whole field is Mark Usher's biggest fan right now, telling him, hey, get this checkered flag to fly out here so we can get this over with, because so many drivers now having good race days out there, they don't want to lose the positions they got. I mean, Usher, we talked about, it looks like he's going to be our 3rd different win in 3 different races this season. Bichard should come away the points leader from 2nd. Thomas Ziegler, remember he had that horrible start at the start of a race, but he should end up with a 3rd place finish here. But Stephen Kempson is off again. He was running in 7th, and he's still running in 7th.
Still has about a 5-10 second gap at least to Hurt, thankfully for him. But looking at the replay, this is again a bit of trouble spot in Tarzan. There's a partial reason it's Tarzan. It's a very challenging corner. And you see here, once he gets the power down in 2nd gear, trying to get an extra boost, loses the back tires, and nearly pushes it into the Armco barrier to full and suit, but keeps the car down, undamaged for now.
So, Usher, Bichard, Ziegler, Prieto, Peterson, your top 5. We'll give you a full race rundown after our post-race break. It's going to be very interesting once the order shakes out. And one thing can't be denied is that Mark Usher, provided he takes away this race victory, and only a tragedy would stop him from doing so at this point, it's a very deserved win. I mean, he lost the lead at the start of a race. Bichard got the lead into turn 1, but that's pretty much a given. It's a rule of the series that Floris Bichard gets good starts. And then Usher got it back. He's never looked back since then, as he comes out of the final turn. And if it was in America, he'd be getting the white flag right now, but his crew chief is definitely telling him over the pit radio, you got 1 lap left to go, bring it on home.
And he continues to set the fastest laps of the race as well. 2nd and last time by, set the fastest lap of the entire Grand Prix. Has had clean air since getting that pass done on Bichard. Has kept his car out of trouble with as little incident points as possible today. Much deserved win, up by 22 seconds to Bichard today.
Working his way through the last portion of the circuit here. As you mentioned, 21 seconds over Bichard, but doesn't matter if you win by a second or a minute. A win's a win, and a second is a second, and I have a feeling Bichard will be quite pleased with that, with his championship campaign. Who knows if we'll see Usher racing for the championship. If he does come back, I think he is going to prove to be a very tough driver to beat indeed. Here he comes through the final turn, the driver of number 93, giving a Marc Marquez-like performance to that number 93 car today. Across the line, Mark Usher here wins at Zandvoort.
a much-deserved victory and another fastest lap to end off the race. And a clean race for Vishar. Had more incident points than Usher, but still kept the car clean and pulled away another 30 seconds for the second step of the podium.
Ziga is currently running in third place, and with things going the way they've gone the past few laps, he can't exactly relax here and make a mistake, as Prieto is only 10 seconds behind him in fourth. But providing Ziga gets through this final turn without putting any wheels off, he will come out of the last corner and round out your podium here at Zandvoort.
An early productive podium, I think, today, as Prieto did not make qualifying. Also having a great day today. A top 4 today from P20. Dead last on the grid. Great run.
Watching Peterson, he's actually finished the lap down. He's already finished his race here in 5th place. Nice finish there from Peterson. Well, that is going to wrap up the race here. Round 3 of the Batteries Not Included Championship from Zandvoort. We're going to take a quick break, but then we will be back with drive interviews and the full race rundown. Don't go away. Alright, well, welcome back, where we just witnessed the third round of the Batteries Not Included Championship here on GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network. Be sure to subscribe to those guys. Plenty of great racing from across the virtual world, road course racing, oval racing, dirt racing too, and we appreciate them putting on our show today here from GSRC. And let's give you the full race rundown. Mark Usher came home the race winner today, 23 seconds ahead of Floris Bichard when it was all said and done, and Thomas Ziga rounding out that podium. Victor Prieto was the last driver left on the lead lap in 4th place after start in 20th. Dave Peterson was the only driver 1 lap down in 5th place. After that, all these drivers are 2 or more laps down. They still finished, it's just such a short track around here. Dirk Britten, Stephen Kempson, Silvio Hurt, Marcus Dresdel and Andrew Botterill. Normally I have the interesting drivers on page 1, Justin, but I think you have a more interesting page 2.
Yeah, to say the least. On page 2 with 11 and 12th, the storyline of the race, a controversial one with Neil Andrews and Clayton McLeod. 6 laps down, Andrews, 7 McLeod, with Andrews finishing off after a black flag and crashing into the pit entry. McLeod pulling a DNF in the race as well. Chris Moretta, getting word in the final few laps, had a black screen, a technical issue, end off his race to finish 13th, with Johan Norlapi running into the back of Stefan Henkel, going into the Gurgelak that ended up finishing both third days, 15 laps down. Also DNFs, Stefan Malecki along with Alan Morgan. Jay Friels crashed in the opening laps of the race, with David Lee Patterson and his teammate Gene Brunette rounding out the top 20 overall, all 20 drivers rather, who made the start after a rough, tough day for the 145 and 76.
Yeah, very unfortunate to see so many drivers retire from this race when it was such a clean start to the race, to be honest. One driver who did make it all the way to the checkered flag was Floris Bichard, and Floris, you didn't disappoint us. You got another one of your lightning starts off the lights.
Yeah, I did. I got a run on the lead, and I tried to keep it for as long as I could, but Mark just had way more pace than I did, so might have been a bit of interesting racing to watch. But yeah, that was fun. Not really sure what happened to Clayton and Neil, because they were both on my gearbox at one point or another, and then suddenly Neil disappeared coming out of the last turn and somewhere in the middle of the race. And then I'm not sure what happened between Neil and Clayton, but I need to look at the replay for that. But that was an interesting race.
Yeah, it's a very interesting replay full of contact and black flags. So we're sure it was a completely different race to what you had out there. I've got to admit, Floris, you've always been great at the starts, but towards the start of last season, you would get great starts, so then you would kind of fade as the race went on. Now you've been getting better at bringing home a good race. You know, we're seeing you on the podium more often. We've seen you have race wins now. What would you say is the biggest improvement you've made that has contributed to these finishes you've been getting?
Basically, the time I spent in the car from the start of the season towards the end of it, I just had more time in the car and got used to driving it again. Because the last time we drove these cars competitively was in 2015, so or officially rather, and so it took a bit of a work to get back on pace for the races again. But I gotta admit, I feel significantly off pace compared to Mark. Not really sure what he put in his car, but I'm guessing it's something other than race fuel.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people questioning Mark Usher's setup there at the end of the race. Boy, he definitely put on a great performance today, but I think you've also put on a great performance with Clayton McLeod's trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if you're now the points leader, actually. We'll have to see how the points unfold. Heading into Suzuka, what are your expectations there?
Well, certainly expecting Joseph to take the lead back for me if I am the leader, or Clayton. But yeah, I'm hoping to keep the lead for Suzuka. It was an interesting race last season because it was my debut in this league, and I managed to get P2 after Clayton went off track for a bit. So I'm hoping I'm hoping to at least bring home second, but it would be nice if I got first.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Floris, and we look forward to seeing you back next week at Suzuka.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right. We got just a couple more moments here because we saw Neil Andrews walking around. See if he's going to give him a couple minutes here, see if he wants to talk to us about everything that went down there. Justin, though, I'll tell you, 3 rounds into this championship, we've definitely seen 3 different stories play out, and it will be interesting to see if Mark Asher comes back, because he definitely has the pace to fight the likes of Joseph Fabian for this championship.
He definitely does have the pace. That's going to be the question, because a track like Suzuka, I expect to see a lot of the fast-paced drivers make a quick return and not take the drop week. It's going to be an interesting next couple rounds overall-wise too, Samuel, to try and determine who's going to be the points leader towards the halfway point in the middle of the month next month in January.
Neil just walked by, but unfortunately we get him confirmed. Oh, okay, we're going to bring him in real quick here, Justin. I'll let you talk to him, Justin.
Yes, Neil Andrews joins us in the broadcast booth.
Keep it clean, please.
Yes, follow Samuel's advice. How do you feel after how do I phrase this, interesting way the race finished off for you coming away in P11 today?
Well, P11 is because I just gave up. Yeah, I'd like to find out why I was black flagged. The thing was I was black flagged once, which I took, which I was thinking, okay, fair enough, I'll take the black flag, which I thought it was a racing incident. I showed what I was going to do. I had my spotter saying car left, so he would have had his spotter saying car right. But then he turns in and probably more net code than anything. I mean, I kept it close to the line, served the black flag, but then for some reason, 4 laps later, I then get a 60-second stop and hold, and I just think, I don't understand why I got a black flag. We were having close races. We did touch early on in the race. He went through one of the corners slightly slower than I was expecting, so we touched, but I slowed down completely to let him keep his position and keep the gap. I then went for the overtake later on in the race, which I thought was a clean attempt at an overtake. He turns in, we touch again, but then I get the penalty. I don't know what you guys saw on the actual broadcast. I don't know your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I've seen some of that as well. Possibly think it looked possibly that he was expecting you to back off and that being not usually in the passing zone. But really, real quickly, next Grand Prix goes over to Suzuka. Your thoughts going into that race?
Looking for it. I love the series, and it was Clayton I was racing, and Clayton's the organizer, so I'd rather have an in-depth chat with him about what happened and what we can do going forward. Especially as the MOATF team are now sort of helping out with the series and stuff. Going forward, I love the series, and the whole team loves the series. It's really good racing. A little bit too close sometimes, maybe, but the cars are amazing to drive. So Suzuka, looking forward to it, and hopefully we can resolve the issue that's happened today.
Real quickly, anyone you want to thank for being a part of your race today?
Well, just thanks to the whole team, the Luxim24 podcast, the MOATF podcast team. There's quite a few drivers that take part in the series. So, yeah, just a big shout out to them, and let's work for the next race.
Thank you very much for the quick words, Neil.
Cheers, guys. You take care.
And that was Neil Andrews coming away 11 today in interesting fashion, Samuel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely see where Neil's coming from. To some aspects, I agree with him, but I'm glad, he's saying he'll still come back. This is a good series, because it is a good series, and hopefully they'll have it all sorted out with whatever happened by next week's race at Suzuka. Well, we would like to thank Clayton McLeod, as well as, all the guys for coming out here, organising this series, putting it on. Also, the iRacing Esports Network for broadcasting this show for us. And also all of the companies that provide the software and hardware that we use during our broadcasts. And you can see those all listed on your screen, as well as Eric Heckholm and June Lalonde there. They are our music providers. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today: Sean, Justin. Stefan was helping us out behind the scenes as well, and also Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and be sure to like us on Facebook and check us out on Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you.